Hello future officers, welcome to another session. So in today's session we will be discussing about disaster management, and we will discuss all those topics which were in news in the past 1 year or so from prelims point of view. Starting with Indonesia's volcano Mount Merapi erupts. So first of all, we should be aware about its location. So it is situated on Sumatra Island. Here you can see Mount Merapi. And Mount Merapi, it is known for sudden eruptions. And these are very difficult to detect. Why these are difficult to detect? Because the source is very shallow, right? And it is near to the peak. And its eruption are not caused by deep movement of the magma. Right? So prelims के लिए important बन जाता है the location Mount Merapi, Sumatra, Indonesia. And Indonesia, one should be aware, it is a part of Pacific Ring of Fire. And Pacific Ring of Fire is that zone which is known for high earthquakes as well as volcanic activities. In this area, it boasts of around 130 active volcanoes in this region. Next, again relating to a volcano, Hawaii's Kilauea volcano. So it was again in news. Recently, Hawaiian volcano Kilauea, it erupted. Now this Kilauea volcano, it is active shield volcano. So यहाँ पे आपको दो चीजें पता होनी चाहिए. First, where is this Kilauea situated? So this is in the Hawaiian Islands, USA. This is first thing. Second, there is a mention of active shield volcano. So what do you mean by shield volcano? This one should be aware of. Now this is an image of shield volcano, and you can see gently sloping sides, because characteristic of shield volcano is basic lava, right? And basic lava is known for high fluidity, right? So it can flow very easily, and when it would be able to flow very easily, very smoothly, right? So the sides would be gently sloping, right? So they tend to erupt basalt lava, and basalt is a fluidic lava, right? And they do not form soaring mountains, very high mountains. They do not form with conical peaks like the composite volcanoes. Instead, what they do, they are broad volcanoes, because they are able to flow for greater distances, right, with gentle slopes. So simply याद रखिएगा, shield volcano associated with gentle slopes. I hope this is clear. Moving further, now heat dome, another topic which has been in news for quite some time. So we will try and understand what do we mean by heat domes. Why are they created? How are they created? Right? What are the different instances of heat dome that the world is witnessing? Right? So let us see. So at present, heat domes and anticyclones, these are responsible for occurrence of heat waves in several parts of the world. And you would be surprised to know, because of this phenomena of heat dome, we will be understanding what do we actually mean by heat dome. But उसको जानने से पहले, you would be surprised in regions like USA, Canada, European nations which lie in temperate and Arctic regions, they are experiencing heat waves, and the temperatures have breached 40, 45, even 50 degrees Celsius. Now this is too high a temperature for any place, but for those places it is really a cause of concern. So let us see what do we actually mean by heat dome. So heat dome, it is a type of high pressure system that forms over a large area in the atmosphere and causes extremely hot and dry weather conditions. आप सभी को पता है, if the ground is heated, कोई भी ground है, heat होगा, so the air, it would become what? Warm. It would try to rise up, right? जो गर्म हवा होगी वो हल्की होगी, right? और उठने की कोशिश करेगी. But what would happen? Imagine what would happen if that warm air, if it is trapped, right? उसको ऊपर उठने ना दिया जाए, right? It is trapped actually. So this is how a heat dome is created. So a mass of warm air, it builds up in still and dry summer conditions. इसको कोई याद रखने की जरूरत नहीं है. When it would build up, warm air कब built up होगी? Of course during the summer time. Now what happens in the atmosphere? हवा तो यहाँ से गर्म हुई, but atmosphere में we have high pressure, and this high pressure, it prevents the warm air from rising up. Right? So warm air is unable to escape and cool. So high pressure in the atmosphere pushes the warm air down, and the warm air, when it is pushed down, so it would be compressed and it would get even hotter. I hope this is clear. Very simple concept to understand. And the system, it actually traps the hot air and it does not allow to rise and cool. And air also becomes compressed and heats up, which leads to a dome shaped area. So एक ऐसा बन जाता है देखने में dome, कुंभज जैसा area, right? That can persist for several days and even weeks. So one should keep this thing in mind. The phenomena of heat dome, it can persist for several days or several weeks. And this is definitely a cause of concern. Now, if you have paid proper attention, यहाँ पे लिखा है high pressure in the atmosphere pushes the air, warm air down. ये high pressure कहाँ से आता है? So jet streams and heat domes, they have some relationship. Let us try and understand heat domes and jet stream. सबसे पहले jet stream आपको पता होना चाहिए. What do you mean by jet stream? आपने पढ़ा होगा in your geography classes. Polar jet stream is there, subtropical jet stream is there. They are present both in the northern as well as southern hemisphere. First things first. Then jet stream is believed to have a wave-like pattern. They move in a meandering path, as you can see over here, in a wave-like pattern that keeps moving from north to south and then north again. So they shift also. This is first thing. When these waves, they get bigger and elongated, जब ये waves बड़ी हो जाएंगी और elongate हो जाएंगी, then they would move slowly. Of course, they would be moving slowly, and sometimes they can become even stationary. So in order to understand, consider this as a ground, consider this as a jet stream which is flowing over here. अगर jet stream कहीं पे stationary हो जाएगी, then it would create or it would exert what? High pressure over that particular region or area. I hope this is clear. And this is when a high pressure system gets stuck and it leads to occurrence of heat dome. Now with the rising temperature, it is expected that the jet stream, it will become more wavy. जैसे जैसे temperature rise करेगा, जितना ज़्यादा contrast होगा, right? So it would become more wavy, and there would be larger deviations. And larger deviations of jet stream, what do they imply? They imply that we would have more of extreme weather events. One of them is heat waves. और यहाँ पे confusion नहीं होना बिल्कुल भी. Is heat dome and heat wave one and the same thing? No, they are not the same. Heat dome is one of the reasons for heat wave. Heat wave generate होने के, there can be numerous other reasons also, but these are not same. I hope the concept is clear. Next, सभी ने पढ़ा होगा जोशीमठ लैंड सब्सिडेंस के बाद. प्रीलिम्स में कैसे क्वेश्चन फ्रेम किया जा सकता है? लेट अस ट्राई एंड फोकस. फर्स्ट थिंग्स फर्स्ट, जोशीमठ is a key transit point for tourists for traveling to Badrinath, Hemkund Sahib, pilgrimage sites. These are, so basically that area developed cracks and it caused panic among the locals. Now you need to know that Joshimath is a hilly town which is located on Rishikesh Badrinath National Highway number 7, इन चमोली डिस्ट्रिक्ट ऑफ उत्तराखंड। तो हमेशा याद रखिएगा ज्योग्राफी में प्लेसेस आर इंपॉर्टेंट। So here you can see Joshimath and other important places also like Karnaprayag. आपने पढ़ा होगा पंचप्रयाग के बारे में। One of them is Karnaprayag. We have Pauri, we have Tehri, we have a dam also, and we have Uttarkashi. Now land subsidence, it's other areas. It is not just this land subsidence ka issue. It is not only being faced by Joshimath alone. All these areas are facing land subsidence, and we can see that the various infrastructure buildings, various house, they are developing cracks. So what are the basic cause of land subsidence? There are numerous causes. One can be geomorphological, the topographical factor, the geological factor. That these are natural factors, but humans, because of their unplanned planning, unplanned construction. So if we talk about the topography, as per 1976 Mishra Committee report, now this is important. The Mishra Committee report is related to what? So this is related to this particular issue only. Joshimath, it lies on deposit of sand and stone. The topography ही ऐसी है that it is lying on sand and stone, and it's not on the main rock. It lies on an ancient landslide. First of all, location is very critical. Then if we talk about the geological aspect, so Joshimath, it sits on a fault line. आपने पढ़ा होगा faulting के बारे में. What is the name? That is Vakrita thrust. And it is close to another two, that is main central thrust and Pandukeshwar thrust. So please remember this Vakrita thrust. In fact, when you would be writing your mains, so you can very well utilize these names on map. Then of course unplanned construction, climate change again is compounding all these problems. Now never ignore the basics. Basics like what do we actually mean by land subsidence? Is land subsidence and landslide one and the same, or are they different? Basics agar mazboot honge, you would be in a comfortable position to answer the questions. So land subsidence basically means gradual settling or even sudden sinking of earth surface. ग्रेजुअल सेटलिंग हो सकता है, एकदम से सडन सिंकिंग होना, जिसको आसान हिंदी में क्या बोल देंगे कि जमीन धस गई. एंड व्हाई इट कैन हैपन? इट कैन हैपन बिकॉज ऑफ रिमूवल और डिस्प्लेसमेंट ऑफ सबसर्फेस अर्थ मटेरियल्स, एंड इट इज ऑफन कॉज्ड बाय रिमूवल ऑफ वाटर, oil and natural gas if we extract these. So support goes. In fact, at times it has been seen the over exploitation of groundwater, it is also a cause of these landslides and these land subsidence, or mineral resources out of ground by pumping, fracking or mining activities. And subsidence, it can also be caused by natural events like earthquakes, soil compaction, ग्लेशियल आइसोस्टेटिक एडजस्टमेंट, ये आइसोस्टेसी का कॉन्सेप्ट हम पढ़ते हैं ऑप्शनल के लिए. देन एरोजन, सिंक होल फॉर्मेशन एक्सेट्रा. सो देयर आर मल्टीपल रीजंस फॉर लैंड सबसिडीज. आई होप दिस इज क्लियर. मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक, दैट इज DMP. व्हाट इज दिस DMP? डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट प्लान फॉर पावर सेक्टर. Whenever a disaster hits, more often than not, it is seen one of the important infrastructure that is hit badly is our power sector. कोई भी disaster जब hit करेगा, so these are more vulnerable. You must have read about disaster management cycle also. So let us see. Central Electricity Authority, that is CEA, it has released DMP for power sector in a bid to evolve proactive and integrated approach so as to strengthen disaster mitigation, preparedness, emergency response and recovery. Now this DMP or disaster management plan, ये बनाना क्यों important है? So it basically provides a framework and direction to utilities in power sector for all phases of disaster management. So these are all the phases of disaster management, that is mitigation to lessen the effect, preparedness, response and recovery. And as per section 37 of Disaster Management Act 2005, every ministry and department of government of India shall prepare this DMP. I hope this is clear. And it is also consistent with Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, even COP21 and PM's 10-point agenda for disaster risk reduction. And it involves number of steps like investing in risk mapping, leveraging our social media and mobile technologies, building local capacity, so on and so forth. So prelims के लिए just need to remember this particular fact. Rest everything is very much generic from mains perspective. Moving forward, GLOF. अब ये नाम आपने जरूर से पढ़ा होगा if you are updated with all the current affairs. Glacial Lake outburst flow, and this event happened in the South Lonak Lake, which is present in North Sikkim. The South Lonak Lake is a glacial lake in Sikkim. It experienced a GLOF event. Now you need to know, because of this GLOF event, we will be understanding what do we actually mean by GLOF. But the GLOF की वजह से what has happened, the flooding it caused Chongthang Hydro Dam in Sikkim. There was flooding in this particular hydro dam, and this dam is on Teesta River. Now Teesta, is it a tributary of river Ganga or is it a tributary of river Brahmaputra? हम Teesta river को पढ़ते हैं in the case of river piracy. Please comment करके बताइए Teesta किस river की tributary. Now let us try and understand what do we mean by GLOF. GLOF का मतलब क्या है? It is not very difficult to understand. बहुत आसान है. Just need to focus. Suppose this is the present condition. अभी इसको भूल जाइए. This B part. Focus on this particular condition. Here you can see a glacier bed is there. You can see mountains, and this is the glacier. This is glacier which is present, and this is the ice thickness. And we have a current lake which is shown in blue color. And then we have frontal moraines. These are the glacial debris. This is the present scenario. Now what happens because of melting or retreating of glacier? Glacier जो था पहले इतना था, अभी ये कम हो गया. It has retreated, melting. Right? We are seeing events of what? Climate change is now a reality. और उसकी वजह से when this ice it would melt, so what would happen? There would be growth in the lake, और ये जो lake है ये बांध को तोड़ देगा. It would overflow this frontal moraines. I hope this is clear. बहुत simple concept है. It is just like if you are having a glass of water, and if we add more and more water, so it would what? It would breach. I hope this is clear. So it is a sudden and potentially catastrophic, जो बहुत तबाही, बहुत damaging event. Flood that occurs when water stored behind a glacier or moraine, a natural accumulation of ice, sand, pebbles and debris is released rapidly. और इसी वजह से the people who are staying in these particular regions, downstream areas, उनको ज़्यादा वक्त नहीं मिल पाता so as to evacuate, because this is sudden. This is important. This is the characteristic feature of GLOF. And these floods they happen when glacial lakes formed by melting ice accumulate water behind weak moraine dams. जो just हमने समझा है कि water accumulate होता रहता है beyond the point, it would be obviously breaching this dam moraine, and it can result in catastrophic downstream flooding, like we had seen in the case of Chongthang Hydro Dam, which is there on River Teesta. And this is not just the first event of GLOF. Earlier also we had seen instances of GLOF. For example, back in 2013, there was a great tragedy which unfolded. Chorabari Glacier melting was there. There was eruption of river Mandakini. In year 2014, a GLOF hit Gaya in Ladakh region. In recent times, 2021, we had seen Chamoli district in Uttarakhand, it witnessed flash floods. The possible cause was GLOF. So GLOF में याद रखिएगा, this is a sudden release of water. I hope the concept is clear. Moving further, cyclones in Arabian Sea. This has been in news for very long time. In fact, यहाँ से मेंस का क्वेश्चन भी बन सकता है. Why we are witnessing more cyclones? Their intensity as well as frequency is increasing in Arabian as compared to Bay of Bengal. Let us see. So the frequency of cyclones in Arabian Sea, it is on a rise. And 6 major cyclones that originated in Arabian Sea over the past 25 years. These are mentioned over here. In 1998, we had Gujarat cyclone, Cyclone Gonu in 2007, Cyclone Nilofer in 2014, Cyclone Khyar in 2019, Cyclone Nisarg in 2020, and Cyclone Suketi in 2021. Prelims के लिए क्या important है? ये तो बहुत सारे नाम हो गए. These are 6 cyclones. One should be aware which cyclone is originating in which particular water body. So Arabian Sea में you should remember these names. If a question comes, Cyclone Bipirjoy, it originated where? Bay of Bengal या Arabian Sea. ये basic one should be aware. There is rising cyclones in Arabian. Simple reason is rising SST, that is sea surface temperatures, they are on a rise because of global warming. And we are witnessing 1.2 to 1.4 degrees Celsius higher temperature than temperature witnessed 4 decades ago. So obviously when there would be rise in sea surface temperature, there would be more cyclones generated. And Arabian Sea is also providing conducive wind shear for cyclones to originate. Plus, there is greater occurrence of El Nino Moduki, and it causes warm moist conditions. क्यों warm moist conditions important? क्यों हम बात करते हैं global warming की वजह से sea surface temperature rise होगा? Because that actually helps the cyclone in order to intensify and grow. जैसे गाड़ी में पेट्रोल की जरूरत होती है, likewise in cyclones, in tropical cyclones, what is the fuel? Fuel is this moist, warm conditions only. और आपने पढ़ा होगा लैंडफॉल के बारे में. तो El Nino Moduki, Moduki means in the middle of something. जैसे ही वर्ड El Nino आता है, you should know what we are talking about, right? It is a very simple concept. Please pay attention. This is Australia. This is South America. क्योंकि El Nino जैसे ही शब्द आता है, many of the candidates they fear this concept, but in reality this is very simple to understand. This is Australia. This is South America. This is Pacific. Pacific में this is Western Pacific. This is Eastern Pacific. What happens during the conditions of El Nino? डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन पूछे गए हैं इन अवर प्रीलिम्स. वहाँ पे सिर्फ ईस्ट और वेस्ट उतना वो सिर्फ ट्वीक कर देते हैं. रेस्ट द एंटायर स्टेटमेंट इज राइट. सो दिस इज वेस्ट पैसिफिक, ईस्ट पैसिफिक. नॉर्मल कंडीशंस आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट. नॉर्मल कंडीशंस में क्या होता है? वी हैव अपवेलिंग ऑफ कोल्ड करंट, पेरिवियल कोल्ड करंट. This is normal condition. And we have what? Very strong trade winds which are blowing, और trade winds जब blow करते हैं, so they remove the water और नीचे से जो ठंडा पानी है वो ऊपर आता है, that is upwelling. But during El Nino condition, this is weakened or entirely reversed in extreme circumstances. So यहाँ पे cool water होने की बजाय यहाँ पे warm water होगा. बस इतना ही आपको याद रखना है. El Nino, this is the basic. So we have warm water where in the Eastern Pacific. तो अब इसको I don't think you need to mug up this particular fact. There should be warm water. I hope this is clear. And Modoki means in the middle. So it causes warm moist conditions in the Central Pacific. Central क्यों? In the middle. क्योंकि यहाँ पे El Nino, Modoki. And dry cold conditions in the Eastern and Western Pacific. Moving further, landslide atlas of India. Now, National Remote Sensing Center and under ISRO, it has released landslide atlas of India, and it is a detailed guideline of the hotspots of landslides in India, which regions are actually prone to landslides in our country. And if we talk about our country, so northwestern Himalayan landslide province you can see, then Western Ghats, these are also prone to landslide. In fact, mains में कई बार क्वेश्चन पूछा है यहाँ से, what is the difference of landslide in these particular regions. Then northeast Himalayas, these are also prone to landslide. But of what we neglect or what we overlook is Araku Valley is also prone to landslides in the Eastern Ghats. इस चीज को याद रखिए. Mainly Western Ghats is prone to landslide, but Eastern Ghats में Araku Valley is also prone to landslide. And India is among the top 5 landslide prone countries globally, where at least one death per 100 square kilometers is reported in a year due to landslide event. Prelims में क्या क्वेश्चन फ्रेम हो सकता है? Prelims में one question can be framed over here. Which state in India records maximum number of landslides? Most of the students, they can mark or pick Uttarakhand as the answer, but that would be wrong, because it is not the state of Uttarakhand, rather it is the state of Mizoram, which has actually recorded the highest number of landslides in our country. Remember this as well. And what are the reasons of landslides? There are both natural as well as anthropogenic reasons. Natural factors, the mountainous terrains which provide conducive conditions of soil, rock, geology and slope. So sudden movement of rock, boulders, earth and debris down a slope, it is known as landslide. Natural as well as anthropogenic causes. Anthropogenic causes में excavation, cutting of hills and trees, excessive infrastructure damage, overgrazing by cattle. Because when there would be destabilization of the slope, so chances of landslide obviously would increase. And what does this landslide atlas suggest, which was released by National Remote Sensing Center under ISRO? So Mizoram reported the highest number of landslides during 1998 to 2022. And on second place we have the state of Uttarakhand. And one more thing, NRSC, it has ranked Rudraprayag in Uttarakhand at the top of 147 vulnerable districts that are there in our country. फटाफट से इसको रिकैप कर लेते हैं. Landslide atlas of India, ISRO's NRSC, this is one. Second, landslide prone regions of India. Third, Mizoram, the state which has recorded maximum number of landslide. And Rudraprayag, which is in Uttarakhand, it is at the top if we talk about 147 vulnerable district of our countries. I hope this is clear. So it has the highest landslide density in India. We are talking about Rudraprayag. Then earthquakes in Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh, they were recorded. This was in news. 5 back-to-back earthquakes struck UTs of Ladakh, Jammu, Kashmir, 3 in Zaskar, 2 in Kishtwar within an hour. तो नंबर कभी नहीं पूछेंगे कितने earthquake कहाँ पे आए. What you need to know is the geology of Himalayas. Geology of Himalayas, it's very complex. These are the youngest fold mountains still rising, and they are characterized by 3 major tectonic units, which are main central thrust, main boundary thrust and main frontal thrust. Now from prelims perspective, we should be aware about the seismic zoning. Who prepares the seismic map of India? आपने जरूर पढ़ा होगा या जरूर सुना होगा. This is highly vulnerable or highly prone to earthquakes. So as per seismic zoning, total area is classified into 4 seismic zones. You can see zone 2nd, zone 3, zone 4 and zone 5. जितना बड़ा नंबर होगा उतना ज़्यादा they would be more seismically active. So zone 5 is seismically the most active region, while zone 2nd is the least active. And approximately 11% of our country's area it's falls in zone 5. So zone 5 आप देखेंगे, which are shown in red part. So here you can see the entire northeast. Almost the entire northeast comes under zone 5. Now what you need to remember, which we neglect as aspirants, seismic zoning map of India is prepared by whom? So this is prepared by BIS, that is Bureau of Indian Standards. So please keep this thing in mind. I hope this is clear. Moving to the next topic, that is Indian landslide susceptibility map. So this was prepared by IIT Delhi. So IIT Delhi makes first high-res landslide risk map for India, and the map it could plot susceptibility at a resolution of 100 meters. So landslides, these are actually unique and deadly problem. Unlike flood, they are less widespread and harder to track and study with the satellites. Why these are harder to track? Because majority of the landslides, they occur in far-flung regions, difficult terrains. So it becomes all the more difficult so as to monitor them. And landslides, they happen in very localized areas and affect only about 1 to 2% of our country. And landslide, you should be aware, what do we mean by landslide? It is the movement of mass or rock, earth or debris down a slope, and landslide, it is a type of mass wasting, which denotes any downslope movement of soil and rock which is under the direct influence of gravity. कोई भी slope है वहाँ से rock, soils, debris etc. they move down under the direct influence of gravity. So mass wasting. Then this term landslide, it encompasses 5 modes of slope development, which is fall, topple, slide, spreads and flows. And it can be further subdivided into geological material type. And debris flows, these are often referred as mud flow or the mudslides. And rock falls, these are example of common landslide types. Rock fall generally आपको कहाँ देखने को मिलेंगे? You would see direct rock fall escarpment से in the Western Ghats. And we have National Landslide Susceptibility Mapping Program. It was launched back in 2014-15. And under this program, Geological Survey of India and Ministry of Mines, it takes up slide susceptibility mapping of landslide prone areas in our country. I hope this is clear. Moving to our next topic. Now, next topic is about Global Assessment Report on Disaster Risk Reduction 2023. First things first, who has released this particular report or publication? So it is United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, UNDRR. It has released Global Assessment Report on Disaster Risk Reduction 2023. And what was the theme? Theme was mapping resilience for sustainable development goals. And the key highlights of this publication included, or this report included, number of disasters, they have increased 5-folds over the past 50 years. पिछले 5 सालों में 5 गुना बढ़ गया है disasters. Their number have increased. So this is a key highlight. And there has been 80% increase in the risk of crop failure, hunger in sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia because of drought. And if we talk about this particular United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, it was established back in 1999, and it is a custodian of Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, which is from 2015 to 2030. I hope this is clear. Theme भी बहुत simple है, mapping resilience for sustainable development goals. Moving further, scheme for expansion and modernization of fire services. Fire services, it was again lot in news because unfortunate incidences, especially in Delhi NCR region, or various coaching institutes. Fire was there and students, they were forced to come down. So, scheme for expansion and modernization of fire services in the states. It was launched in 2023 from earmarked allocation of preparedness and capacity building funding window under NDR, National Disaster Response Force, for strengthening the fire services in the states for a period up to 2025-26. नाम से ही clear होना चाहिए. And funds are available to states under the scheme on cost sharing basis. Now the different measures which are included, they provide for setting up of new fire stations, strengthening of state training centers, capacity building. There have to be provisions for modern firefighting equipment, right? So this is all very generic. Strengthening of state headquarters, urban fire stations, technological upgradation, installation, augmentation of online system, etc. So this is all generic in nature. Now, what is specific? Fire service is a state subject, and it has been included as a municipal function in 12th schedule of our constitution under article 243W. So please remember this fact. And central government, एक statement बन सकता है कि central government maintains data related to fire accidents in states centrally. So that would be wrong. Central government does not maintain any data which is related to fire incident or incidents in the states centrally. Please remember this. And it is the primary responsibility of the state governments to take necessary steps which are required for safety of life and property from fire hazards, right, in the respective area of their jurisdiction. I hope this is clear. So prelims के लिए you should remember this. Moving further, earthquake swarm. What is that earthquake swarm? Now a state of emergency was declared because of earthquake in Iceland. The state of emergency has been declared in Iceland after a swarm of 800 earthquakes. They rocked the island country's southernmost Rakigenis Peninsula in under 14 hours. Can you imagine? In fact, it is mentioned 800. There were actually more than thousands of earthquakes in less than or under 24 hours. And it is not very difficult to comprehend this, because if you see the location of Iceland, it is actually located on the mid-Atlantic ridge. And mid-Atlantic ridge आपने पढ़ा होगा sea floor spreading वो सब concept. It is technically the longest mountain range in the world, but on the floor of the Atlantic Ocean. So here you can see this is Iceland, this is Reykjavik, Karfla. So this is mid-Atlantic ridge, and the ridge it separates your Eurasian plate and North American plate. These are divergent plate boundaries, Eurasian and North American tectonic plates, and this makes Iceland a hotbed for seismic activities. That is why you see not one or two earthquakes, but entire swarm of earthquakes. Now you should be aware what is the difference between aftershocks and swarms. Earthquake आने से पहले we have foreshocks, then the main event, and then aftershock. So we have foreshocks, we have aftershocks, and we have a main shock. But earthquake swarm में देख रहे हैं, you are having number of earthquakes. So aftershocks, these are a sequence of earthquakes that happen after a larger main shock on a fault, and they occur, if we are talking about aftershocks, they occur near the fault zone, where main shock rupture occurred and are a part of readjustment process after main slip on the fault. These becomes less frequent with time. जैसे जैसे time बढ़ेगा, so their frequency reduces. Although they can continue for several days, weeks, or even months, or even years altogether. Now, if you talk about swarm, swarm मतलब एक झुंड, एक collection, a sequence of mostly small earthquakes with no identifiable main shock. These are usually short-lived. We talk about earthquake swarms, but they can continue again for several days, weeks, or months together. So this was about earthquake swarms which has struck Iceland, and because of that the government was forced to declare or kick in emergency. And most swarms, these are associated with geothermal effect. It is again no brainer. We have divergent plate boundaries. नीचे से क्या आएगा? Again what? Magma. Geothermal activity से सब related है. Now, Fujiwara effect, when the cyclones they dance. You can see the dance of the cyclones. What is this Fujiwara effect all about? So let us see. So recently, powerful winds they have tormented Bay Area, other parts of Central and Southern California. Basically, US, North America की बात हो रही है. It has caused some sort of disruption because of Fujiwara effect. But ये Fujiwara effect होता क्या है? This we need to be aware of. So Fujiwara effect is interaction between tropical storms. So you can see tropical storms they interact, formed around the same time in the same ocean region with their centers or eyes. आपने पढ़ा होगा tropical cyclone के केस में eye, which is at the center, which is the rainless part and the hottest part of the tropical cyclone. So it is formed around the same time in the same ocean region with their centers or eye at a distance of less than 1400 kilometers. ये fact important हो जाता है from prelims point of view. With intensity that could vary between tropical cyclones का intensity, it can vary between depression मतलब wind speed it's under 63 km per hour, and a super typhoon also, where the wind speed can be over 209 kilometers per hour. And in some cases even they can merge together. The interaction could lead to changes in the track and intensity of either one of them or both of them. And in some rare cases, these two tropical cyclones, they can merge also. और कब merge करेंगे? Especially when they are of similar size and intensity so as to form bigger storm. And they were identified by Japanese meteorologist Sakui Fujiwara. उन्हीं के नाम पे ही, in order to honor him, we have this Fujiwara effect. So this was first found, this is first mentioned in a paper published back in 1920. So this was about Fujiwara effect. So please remember this, less than 1400 kilometers. Next is global trends on land degradation and drought. So healthy and productive land, the size of Central Asia has been degraded since 2015. This is a great cause of concern. UPSC में सवाल पूछे जाते हैं, because of human activities, which of the following water bodies they have shrunk, like air and sea. So now what has happened, what has been found, the perfectly healthy lands, और छोटी मोटी land नहीं, their size even greater than the size of Central Asia, it has been degraded since 2015. Obviously, when land degradation would happen, so food and water security, it would be threatened, or it would be threatened or compromised, and it would directly impact lives of 1.3 billion people as per the latest estimates released by UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, which was adopted back in 1994. It is a sole legally binding treaty which talks about sustainable development and land. So this adds up to 420 million hectares, या 4.2 million square kilometers, slightly over combined areas of 5 Central Asian nations. तो यहाँ पे थोड़ा मैप भी याद कर लीजिए. Central Asian countries include Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. In one of these countries recently, COP14 CMS, Convention on Migratory Species of Wild, it was held. Here it was held. It was held in Samarkand, that is the capital of Uzbekistan. Right. And it has a logo of winged snow leopard. So different themes to different issues to try and interrelate, so that you can remember or recall when it would be required in the examination. Now if the trend it continues, so restoring of 1.5 billion hectares of land by 2030 will be necessary so as to achieve land degradation neutral world. In fact, please comment down, what do you mean by land degradation neutrality? Land degradation neutrality का मतलब क्या होता है? And also comment down, is Bonn challenge and Bonn convention the same, or are these different? So let me tell you, these are different, but please comment करके बताइए what is the difference between these. Then UNCCP, as we have just discussed, it was adopted in 1994 and is the only legally binding international agreement which links our environment and development to sustainable land management. I hope this is clear. Moving to our next topic, that is aqueduct world risk atlas. सबसे पहले you should be aware about what do you mean by aqueduct. We will be discussing this in a while. Now let us see what is the issue. As many as 25 countries or a quarter of world's population are currently exposed to extremely high water stress annually. This topic is pertaining to, नाम से ही clear होना चाहिए, water risk atlas, water scarcity का issue. and this is as per new data released from World Resources Institute, WRI. Aqueduct water is, at least this is shown, and globally at least 50% of world's population, which is around 4 billion, they live under highly water stress condition for at least 1 month of the year. In India also we see number of places, especially in news, is the city of Bengaluru. And 25 most water stressed countries, they have been listed, and these are as follows: is Bahrain, Cyprus, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Egypt, Libya, Yemen, Botswana, Iran, Jordan, Chile, San Marino, Belgium, Greece, Tunisia, Namibia, South Africa, Iraq. Unfortunately, our country is also included in this, and Syria. These are the 25 most water stressed countries in the world. And the most water stressed regions, if we talk about region wise, so these are West Asia and North Africa, जिसको बोल देते हैं हम वाना, where 83% of the population it is exposed to extremely high water stress, and South Asia is where 74% of the population is exposed to water stress. Now, since we are talking about water stress, what do we actually mean by water stress? बहुत simple है, demand और supply का game है. So a region is said to be under water stress when demand for water exceeds the available volume, or when the poor quality restricts the use. So one is availability, second when the poor quality restricts. ऐसा नहीं है कि water तो है but it is polluted. What would be its use? Then you should also be aware about Falcon mark indicator or water stress index. So Falcon mark indicator की अगर हम बात करें, it is related to water stress index, right? And it reflects the pressure exerted on water resources, which encompass requirement for natural ecosystems, right? So when the renewable water per person falls under 1700 cubic meter, the country is deemed as it is facing water stress. Under 1000 cubic meters, then we will say that there is water scarcity. And if it is even below, if it is under 500 cubic meter, it is deemed to be facing absolute water scarcity within its border. तो याद रखिएगा, Falcon's mark indicator is relating to water stress. I think this is clear. Then there was a mention of aqueduct. So aqueduct बहुत आसान concept है, nothing to worry in this. In modern engineering, aqueduct it means or refers to a system of pipes, ditches, canals, tunnels, supporting structures which are used to convey water from its source to main distribution point. Basically, aqueducts का use होता है so as to supply drinking water. Right? Drinking water को supply करने के लिए can use these. So such systems generally are used to supply cities and agricultural lands with water. Aqueduct का function ही यही है, and they have been important particularly for development of areas. अब किसके लिए important हो जाएगा? Canal irrigation for example, जहाँ पे water की किल्लत है, right? For example, in the state of Rajasthan, we have Indira Gandhi Canal. So these are particularly important for development of areas with limited direct access to fresh water sources. वहाँ पे इनका significance और ज़्यादा बढ़ जाएगा. And historically, they have helped keep drinking water free from human waste and other contaminants. And they have greatly improved public health in cities with primitive sewerage systems. I hope आपको समझ आएगा aqueduct के बारे में, right? Then there is a concept of omega blocking, which was in news, and it has implications, जैसे आपने अभी थोड़ी देर पहले पढ़ा था फ्यूजीवारा इफेक्ट. सो ओमेगा ब्लॉकिंग आपने पढ़ा था हीट डोम्स के बारे में. सो ऑलवेज कीप अ टैब और आई ऑन द various geographical phenomena, geophysical phenomena which are in news. So recently floods in Mediterranean regions, they were caused by low pressure systems forming around Omega block centered over Netherlands. अब इस दो लाइन में क्या बात की गई है अभी थोड़ी देर में सब समझ में आएगा. Then they have also been linked. They means Omega blocks या Omega blocking की वजह से तो फ्लड्स देखने को मिले हैं मेडिटेरियन रीजन में. ओमेगा ब्लॉकिंग की ही वजह से पाकिस्तान फ्लड्स 2011, 2019 हीट वेव्स फ्रांस और जर्मनी में और बाकी यूरोपियन नेशंस में. ओमेगा ब्लॉकिंग सिर्फ फ्लड से रिलेटेड नहीं है. ओमेगा ब्लॉकिंग की वजह से वी ऑल्सो हैव हीट वेव्स. बट अब तक ये नहीं समझा व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय ओमेगा ब्लॉकिंग. So it is not very difficult to understand. Prelims के लिए आपको इतना याद रखना है. Omega blocking, it simply means low pressure system. And why the name Omega? So आपने पढ़ा होगा. For those of you are having science background, Omega. So this is resembling. This pattern is resembling the shape of Omega. That is why it is named Omega block. First. Second, what this actually means. It occurs when two low pressure systems, so here you can see there are two low pressure systems. These are the low pressure systems. They become cut off from the main flow of jet stream. They get cut off from main flow of jet stream, sandwiching a high pressure system between them. So suppose this is a jet stream which is flowing. Jet stream is an example of geostrophic wind. So there are centers of low pressure as well as high pressure. And if two low pressure centers, these are cut off from the main jet stream branch, और बीच में क्या बच जाता है, बीच में sandwiched is the high pressure system. Then it is termed as omega. Prelims में याद रखिएगा वो सारा स्टेटमेंट सही देंगे बट लो को हाई कर देंगे और हाई को लो कर देंगे. दिस दे हैव डन न्यूमरस टाइम्स, स्पेशली इन क्वेश्चंस ऑफ एल नीनो ला नीनो. आई होप दिस इज क्लियर. देन अ devastating earthquake has struck Morocco and its epicenter was located in Atlas Mountains of the historic city of Marrakesh. आपने पढ़ा होगा Marrakesh Accord, Agreement, etc. IR. And this was a shallow earthquake. यहाँ से क्वेश्चन फ्रेम हो सकता है. Which earthquake is more destructive? Shallow earthquake, is it more destructive, or is it deep earthquake which is more destructive? So it is the shallow earthquake which is more destructive because it would be carrying more of energy. It is very easy to understand. Number of times aspirants they are often confused. Suppose we have a shallow earthquake. Suppose we have a deep earthquake. So energy is released. Energy would hit. आपने पढ़ा होगा epicenter, focus, hypocenter. We won't be discussing this over here. अगर कोई deep focus earthquake है तो energy यहाँ तक आते 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 dissipate होगी, कम हो जाएगी, right? But obviously it would be spreading more. But जो devastation एक shallow earthquake cause करेगा, it would be greater because it would be carrying more energy to the ground. I hope this is clear. So shallow quakes, these are more dangerous as they carry more energy when they emerge to the surface when compared to the quakes that occur deep underneath the surface. Right. So ये याद रखिएगा. While deeper quakes they do indent spread further. उनका spread ज़्यादा होगा as seismic waves move radially upwards to the surface. They lose energy while traveling greater distances. So please remember about the location of Morocco. Please remember about the location of Atlas Mountains. Then Arogya Maitri Cube under Project Bhishma. This is world's first portable hospital. ये भी न्यूज में बना हुआ है. वर्ल्ड्स फर्स्ट पोर्टेबल हॉस्पिटल. थिंक अबाउट अ डिजास्टर. आज की क्लास डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट पे है. सोचिए कोई डिजास्टर ने स्ट्रक किया है. वन ऑफ द बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट इज टू evacuate people. One of the basic requirement is to first aid. Injured जो हैं उनको सहायता पहुंचाना, उनको रिलीफ प्रदान करना. बट डिजास्टर्स के टाइम पे क्या होता है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एट टाइम्स इट इज ऑब्स्ट्रक्टेड और डैमेज्ड कंप्लीटली. राइट. सो इंजर्ड तक डॉक्टर्स कैसे जाएंगे? सो नाउ वी हैव कम अप विद वर्ल्ड्स फर्स्ट पोर्टेबल हॉस्पिटल नोन एज आरोग्या मैत्री एड क्यूब, and it was unveiled back in December 2023 in Gurugram. ये dates कभी नहीं पूछते because you are not writing any state level examination, you are writing UPSC. So year of course you can remember. So they are designed indigenously under Project Bhishma, which stands for Bharat Health Initiative for Sahyog, Hita and Maitri. The modular trauma management and aid system is made up of 72 detachable mini cubes, as you can see in this particular image. Right. Each being a specialized station for emergency response and humanitarian efforts. And it can even handle bullet injuries, burns, head, spinal, chest injuries, minor surgeries, fracture and even major bleeding. And they can treat as many as 200 patients. These cubes are light and portable, of course, and they can be rapidly deployed anywhere from airdrops to ground transportation. And the mobile hospital is a part of India's message of health for all. Now these points are for the mains. ऐसे prelims में नहीं आएगा. Prelims में you just need to know about Project Bhishma, about Arogya Maitri Cube. I hope this is clear. Then there was a mention of Silkyara Barcode Tunnel. This was a great tragedy which was unfolding, but fortunately we were able to rescue all the 41 trapped miners who were there with the help of, last leg कैसे conduct हुआ था, with the help of rat hole mine. So the under construction Silkyara Barcode Tunnel on Yamunotri National Highway in Uttarakhand's Uttarkashi district, it collapsed. And if we talk about Uttarkashi's tunnel collapse, so this is a part of Char Dham Highway. 41 workers, they were trapped inside. So in this area, prominent thrust or fold called barcode thrust passes, and because of the thrust there have been many shear zones. Geologically there are faults or weak shear zones where there is stress accumulation, and materials along the shear zone is loose and pulverized. Pulverized मतलब crushed, right? Shear zone कैसे create होता है? How a shear zone is created? When there is movement between two rocks and the rocks get crushed, or in other words the rock gets pulverized. So जो crushed rock होगा, it would change its behavior. Suppose this is a rock. If it is crushed, so would it behave the same as it used to behave earlier? No, it would start behaving differently. It may behave like a clay, or it may get weathered over time. And additionally there are ground stresses also. So you must have seen this unfolding. इसमें याद रखिएगा सिल्कियारा यमुनोत्री नेशनल हाईवे उत्तराखंड उत्तरकाशी डिस्ट्रिक्ट एंड पार्ट ऑफ चारधाम हाईवे. Then Once in a century, flooding swamps Somalia after a historic drought. We are seeing the events of climate change really taking toll, right, on our biodiversity, on human well-being, as well as the ecosystems. This is a classic example जहाँ पे यूनाइटेड नेशंस ने डिक्लेयर किया है कि सोमालिया में जो रिसेंट फ्लड्स आए हैं, दीज आर वन ऑफ अ सेंचुरी इवेंट. 100 सालों में कभी एक बार ऐसा इवेंट होता. पहले ड्रॉट आया और उसके बाद में बहुत सब फ्लडिंग का इशू वाज देयर. So as per UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, around 1.6 million people. Numbers कभी नहीं पूछेंगे UPSC. Starting में when we just start off our journey, तो हमें लगता है कि यहाँ से भी पूछ लिया जाएगा. So this data it won't be. Just need to be aware about the event. Should be aware about the location of Somalia. Where is Somalia? Is it a part of Horn of Africa? Please comment करके बताइए. By the way, the Horn of Africa का mnemonic is seed. So focusing back, it would be affected by heavy seasonal downpours, and they were worsened by combined effects of El Nino and Indian Ocean dipole. जिसको बोलते हैं गरीबी में आटा गीला, जैसा ही देखने को मिला. पहले ड्रॉट, उसके बाद फ्लड, देन कंबाइंड इम्पैक्ट्स ऑफ एल नीनो एज वेल एज इंडियन ओशन डाइपोल. तो ये बेसिक्स आपको पता होना चाहिए. व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय एल नीनो, व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय इंडियन ओशन डाइपोल, पॉजिटिव फेज, न्यूट्रल फेज एंड नेगेटिव फेज. Then if we talk about United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, now this is a United Nations body which was established back in 1991 by General Assembly so as to strengthen international response to complex emergencies and natural disasters. This is a body of United Nations. Then if we talk about El Nino, we have already talked about El Nino. El Nino में हमेशा याद रखिएगा ऑस्ट्रेलिया and South America. This is Pacific. Pacific में भी this is what west, this is east. अब यहाँ पे अपवेलिंग स्टॉप हो गया, उसकी वजह से यहाँ पे अब वार्म वाटर हो गया. So there is warm water, unusually warm water where eastern part of Pacific. As simple as that. So unusual warming of surface water in eastern tropical Pacific. And El Nino is the warm phase of larger known phenomena of ENSO. So this we have understood. Thereafter Indian Ocean Dipole. Indian Ocean Dipole भी कुछ similar है El Nino के जैसा. Indian Ocean Dipole को कहा जाता है Indian Nino. Just आप याद रखिएगा that in case of Indian Ocean, very simple. Positive Indian Ocean Dipole कब कहा जाएगा? When the western part of Indian Ocean it is more warmer than the eastern part. और prelims के लिए simple इतना याद रखिएगा, Indian Ocean Dipole if it is positive then it will be good for our Indian monsoon and vice versa. Is this statement true? Is this false? I am saying this statement is true. Please comment करके बताइए whether it is true or not. I hope this is clear, right? क्योंकि यही सब छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं जो आपको एक्चुअल एग्जामिनेशन में परेशान करती. So Indian Ocean is said to be positive when the western side of Indian Ocean it is more warmer than the eastern side and vice versa. Then we have cyclone Midhili. Cyclone Midhili recently it stemmed from deep depression in Bay of Bengal and it underwent a downgrade. पहले इसको deep depression कहा, फिर इसको depression कहा गया. As confirmed by IMD Indian Meteorological Department after its landfall on Bangladesh. So the criteria below has been formulated by IMD. So there have been criteria. This is from the official site of IMD. Here you can see the type of disturbances, the wind speed. So low pressure कब कहा जाता है? When the wind speed is less than 31 kilometers per hour. उसके बाद is the depression. Speed increases from 31 to 49. Deep depression 49 to 61. Cyclonic storm 61 to 88. Severe cyclonic storm 88 to 117. Finally we have super cyclone जिसने ओडिशा को स्ट्रक किया था. It is more than 221 kilometers per hour. And we also have cyclone categories. Category 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Again depending upon the speeds. So यहाँ पे इस particular news में cyclone Medeli, it underwent a downgrade from deep depression to depression. Deep depression से depression. Speed कम होगी, obviously speed कम हो जाएगी when there would be a land. The energy cut off हो जाएगा tropical cyclone. I hope this is clear. And one more thing, this is also adopted by WM. When talking about Global Drought Snapshot 2023, who has released this? So the report Global Drought Snapshot, it was launched by UNCCD at the outset of COP28 UNFCCC, which was held in Dubai, UAE. So the key highlights included 70% of cereal crops, they were damaged by drought in the Mediterranean from 2016 to 18. 33% loss of grazing land was found in South Africa, again because of drought. Global droughts के बारे में ही बात कर रहे हैं. 85% of the people, they were affected by droughts. They live in low or middle income countries. In UNCCD, we have already seen this was established back in 1994. Sole legally binding treaty which links environment development and sustainable land management. Then we have global status of multi-hazard early warning systems. Target G. Disaster management. One very important thing is we should have early warning systems. It can save a lot of lives and livelihoods, among other things. So the report titled Global Status on Multi-Hazard Early Warning Systems, Target G, it was jointly released by. ये यहाँ से question can be framed. This particular report has been released by whom? So this is jointly released by UNDRR, that is United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, and WM, World Meteorological Organization. So target G of Sendai framework, it seeks to increase availability of an SS2. Target क्या है कि availability बढ़ाई जाए, किस चीज की availability और accessibility, multi hazard early warning system 2030 तक. And a separate question can be framed. What do you mean by EW for all? The term EW for all, recently seen in news, is related to what? This is early warning for all. It is a groundbreaking initiative so as to ensure that everyone is protected from hazardous weather, water or climate events by providing early warning systems by end of 2027. ये जो years हैं, these become important. कुछ targets हैं, those become important. Next, talking about Indian Meteorological Department, IMD, you can see 150 years of service to the nation. राष्ट्रीय सेवा के 150 वर्ष. So let us see about this particular department. It was established back in 1857 or 1875, not 57, 1875, and it is the National Meteorological Service of country. It is principal government agency in all the matters relating to meteorology and related or allied subjects. We will see what do you mean by meteorology. It works as an agency of Ministry of Earth Sciences of our government. Headquarters are there in New Delhi, and this is important to note, it is one of the 6 regional specialized meteorological center of WHO, World Meteorological Organization. Please comment करके बताइए where is the headquarters of WHO. और meteorology की बात कर रहे हैं, so we should be aware it is the scientific study of Earth's atmosphere, which basically focus किस चीज पे focus रहता है? Our understanding and forecasting of weather patterns, atmospheric phenomena, climate. So this was about IMD. Please remember the year, please remember the ministry. Then we have global infrastructure resilience. This is CDRI, Coalition of Disaster Risk Initiative. We will be studying about this, that it was launched by Honorable Prime Minister of India, and its biennial report on global infrastructure resilience, capturing the resilience dividend, provides global infrastructure risk model and resilience index, GIRI. तो ये क्वेश्चन बन सकता है. The first publicly available and fully probabilistic risk model to estimate risk for infrastructure assets with respect to most major geological and climate related hazards. आसान भाषा में this report has been released by first released by CDRI, and it provides for GIRI. It is GIRI, Global Infrastructure Risk Model and Resilience Index. Obviously, among other things, it has highlighted that annual investment is required so as to address infrastructure deficit, so as to sustainable development goals, to achieve net zero and strengthen resilience by 2050. It amounts to $9.2 trillion, which 2.84 to 2.9 trillion must be invested in low and middle income countries. Such huge number, such huge amount is required. We talk about Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, CDRI. So this is a partnership of various national governments, UN agencies, programs, multilateral development banks, and financial mechanisms, the private sector, knowledge institutions. Again, नाम से clear होना चाहिए, so as to promote resilience of new and existing infrastructure system to climate and disaster risk in support of sustainable development. क्योंकि सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट तब तक नहीं हो सकता जब तक हमारा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रेजिलिएंट नहीं है. हमने बहुत मेहनत से इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलप किया, and then disasters bound to happen, hazards bound to happen. Hazard disaster में convert ना हो, उसके लिए we should have resilient infrastructure. And this was launched by Honorable Prime Minister of India during United Nations Climate Action Summit on 23rd September 2019 at New York. So this is again a major global initiative launched by our government, and it showcases global leadership. ये सब लाइन मेंस के लिए, तो वहां तक पहुंचने के लिए प्लीज फोकस ऑन द प्रीलिम्स. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इज assessment of land use dynamics in the Aravalli range. What is this all about? Basically, Central University of Rajasthan, it has revealed this particular report. They are carrying out what research? किस बारे में research? कि Aravallis के अंदर there is lot of illegal mining, and it has been found that Aravallis, they have been damaged, and these are obviously among the planet's oldest, belonging to pre-Cambrian times. They have created a corridor for sandstorms originating from Thar to reach Delhi NCR region and western UP. आसान भाषा में, these are Aravallis. If you cut these Aravallis, what would happen? Lot of dust, particulate matter would emerge. और वो जो dust है, now it is reaching to Delhi NCR region, Western UP region. This report, it documents a systematic decline in elevation of hills in Narayana, Kalwar, Kotputli, Jhalana, Sariska, which range from 200 to 600 meters above sea level. Question क्या frame हो सकता है? Question can be framed. What are the different impacts? If this is the issue, what are the possible impacts? First and the foremost, sandstorms, they would increase. Second and very important, human wildlife conflict is again bound to rise, because we had seen animals like leopards, chinkara, sambar deer, these are shrinking. Of course, they would venture into human settlements. So human wildlife conflict भी इससे increase हो रहा है, and it is endangering the existing ecosystems like rare plant species such as Neel, Chona kurunji and Karun kurunji. So these are under the threat of extinction. So this was about assessment of land use dynamics in the Aravali's. So please always focus upon the consequences. So desert-like conditions, they are increasing. Sandstorms, they would of course be rising, और वो sandstorms pollution भी create करेगा, particulate matter, loss of wildlife habitat, indigenous flora, that particular area. Then we also have sand and dust storms, a guide to mitigation, adaptation, policy and risk management measures in agriculture. This particular publication has been released by which of the following? So this has been released by FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, which has headquarters in Rome, Italy. So this has released this publication, and it has indicated expansion of global drylands. So just example अभी हमने previous topic में देखा. So it has increased aridity and worsening drought conditions. Sand and dust storms की अगर हम बात करें, this is a meteorological event that occur when strong winds, they lift large amount of sand and dust particles. बहुत तेज हवा आई और वो अपने साथ क्या लिफ्ट करके चली गई? Sand and dust. These are sand and dust storms. You must have seen this in the movie Airlift also. Then it occurs when strong turbulent winds, they erode small particles of dryland surfaces with little or no vegetation cover. Of course, when there would be vegetation, so that would hold the ground or the soil tightly. But drylands हैं तो vegetation would be most likely xerophytic. And about 75% of global dust, it comes from natural sources, and 25% from the anthropogenic sources. कौन से anthropogenic sources हो सकते हैं which are responsible for dust and sandstorms? These include land use change, agriculture and deforestation. And FAO, you should be aware, it is a specialized agency of UN, and it leads international efforts so as to defeat hunger. So this was about today's session. I hope you found it useful. Keep studying, keep practicing, and have a good time.